YouTube and Auburn fans. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking to Auburn football, week 2 of Auburn's football season after a very successful outing against Akron. A lot of folks say, well, it's just Akron. But Auburn executed on a really high level in that particular football game. Finally got a chance to see the full game. Really loved the utilization of the tight end. The tight ends help supplementing the offensive line. The tight end catching footballs down the football field. Also, just being very active in variation of formation to kind of keep the defenses off balance. Go ahead and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Leave your comments in the comment section. That really helps with the engagement of the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Auburn welcomes Alabama State University, the Hornets, to Jordan-Hare Stadium this week. The second time that these two football teams will meet. Auburn defeating Alabama State in 2018, 63-9. A little skinny on Alabama State. Alabama State historically has been in two separate conferences. They started out in the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, which is a Division II conference that houses what is known as historically black college football. That conference included teams like Tuskegee, which is right down the road from Auburn, which also includes Alabama A&M, who Auburn faced, I want to say, in 2016, winning that game 55-0. Alabama State has a handful of conference championships. In 1991, winning the mythical Black College Championship under the watch of legendary coach Houston Markham, 11-0. Probably, I would go out and say, especially, being kind of close to the program during that time, because at that time, I'm being from Tuskegee, watched Tuskegee football really closely, and also Alabama State. As a matter of fact, I asked my grandfather, because Tuskegee and Alabama State had gone on this hiatus where they hadn't played each other in a while. And I asked him, I was like, why doesn't Tuskegee and Alabama State play one another? And he was like, man, they usually play each other every year in what historically black college football calls the granddaddy of them all. The Turkey Day Classic is the famous rivalry between Tuskegee and Alabama State. It's kind of like the Iron Bowl with Alabama and Auburn. As a matter of fact, Tuskegee, the way this thing would work is Alabama State and Tuskegee would play the Turkey Day Classic on Thursday. It was like a nice tradition in Central Alabama, especially once the rivalry of Auburn and Alabama started to become a home-to-home basis. Tuskegee would play Alabama State on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, and then Auburn and Alabama would actually play on Friday. But now Auburn and Alabama actually play on Saturday, and Tuskegee and Alabama State have actually renewed their rivalry with the Turkey Day Classic. Now, Alabama State is a team that is highly competitive. They have had some the only thing about Alabama State, they haven't had a winning season since 2016, where they went 6-5. I don't expect Alabama State to pose a huge threat against Auburn. Auburn seems to be not recruiting, but seems to be executing on a really high level as of late, especially with this last football game against Akron. Really, executed on a high level, clicking on all cylinders. And one thing that I like about the coaching staff is they appear to be very deliberate and intentional in their approach to the game. So, and it showed as I finally got a chance to watch the Auburn versus Akron football game all the way through. It was a lot of intentionality. It was a lot of execution and a lot of attention to detail. I really like Brian Harson's demeanor on the sideline. He keeps a very business approach. He's not concerned with, your team just being overly celebratory over minor victories. He wants to go from one step to the next. And I think this game against Alabama State will be no different. Especially with Penn State being the the marquee matchup at the beginning of the season. I think he's going to approach this game to where you accomplish as much as you can against a relatively talented team. I mean, Alabama State did some really good things in the spring football that the SWAC was able to play this year. And, they really got a chance to stretch your spring camp, especially after missing the 2020 season altogether because of the COVID-19. They decided, we're not going to, the SWAC as a whole decided that they weren't going to play football. So to have that spring football and to, kind of caveat that thing into the 2021 season, I thought that was a really good thing for them, because you don't want to go, if you can help it, you don't want to go a whole 10 years. I mean, not 10 years, I'm tripping. You don't want to go a whole 2 years without playing football and then having to face Miles College, who is a traditional SIAC team, Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference team, former conference of Alabama State, and somewhat of a rivalry for Alabama State, as Alabama State is in Montgomery and Miles College is in Birmingham. You don't want to go that long without playing football. One of the great things about Alabama State is they do have a quarterback who was the SWAC Conference Freshman of the Year, put up some really good numbers. Also have a really good linebacker in Colton Adams. Hopefully he will be able to avoid injury, because that's really what's been holding him back. I mean, he has multiple tackles per game, so you're going to look out for him. He's number one on that. His number is number one on that football team. So that's something you're going to look for. Now, what I look for from Auburn is I look for them to continue to diversify the offensive attack. I really love the multiple formations. I really love how they, distribute the ball to multiple players, which is going to be a challenge for defenses in the SEC once they get into conference play, is being prepared for the different formations and different variations of how they approach the offensive game. Also, we're going to continue to see who emerges on the defense. It appeared that, Auburn was piecing some things together as far as the defensive line. You saw Tony Fair in there sometimes. He really made an impact when he was in there. Kobe Wooten and, Derek Hall, those guys really had a really good football game. And Marcus Harris, the transfer from Kansas, really had a nice outing. And how about T.D. Moultrie? T.D. Moultrie, we joke around about Big Cat Bryant, right? Big Cat Bryant would get in the mix, but a lot of times he would overrun the play. But the thing that I really liked about T.D. Moultrie is he's very fundamentally sound. He doesn't overrun the plays. He takes very, very educated angles when he's approaching the quarterback. I mean, he might get outran, but one of the things that I liked about T.D. Moultrie was even when he missed a tackle, he also segued the opponent into what was going to be a tackle. It wasn't a situation where he got beat and it turned out to be a first down. Auburn did a lot of gang tackling, which I expected out of Derek Mason's defense. And it was really refreshing to watch. Also an Auburn team that, really seemed to have some camaraderie. Because if we remember Bo Nix last year, a lot of times he goes on the sideline. He's not really talking to anybody, things of that nature. But I know firsthand how it feels to be the perceived leader of the team, and nobody really, from what I can see, nobody really likes you or totally respects you. Now, mind you, Bo Nix started this team as a true freshman, and it's really difficult to lead a team as a true freshman right out of high school. Guys that have been there, they were performed under Jarrett Stidham, and it's really difficult for you to be the leader of a team that guys you just don't know. And then you have the abbreviated season in 2020 where you're still kind of trying to, you don't have spring football and you don't have the opportunity to really get the rapport of the team. But you could tell based on perception of what I saw, Bo Nix appears to be the leader of this team, and that he appears to be a respected player on this team. And that does a lot for your confidence. When people believe in you and people respect you, you tend to perform better. We look forward to this game between Alabama State and Auburn this particular weekend. It's going to be a 12 o'clock kickoff, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.